Paradise Lost and talking about fall from innocence and all that stuff. Generally speaking, it's about the lineage of sin. In Paradise Lost, Satan damns Eve, who damns humanity. And then in Frankenstein, it starts with Frankenstein, who damns the creature, who then damns the innocent. So our first major illusion is the monster as a fallen angel. The book opens with, "Did I request thee, maker from my clay, to mold me man? Did I solicit thee from darkness to promote me?" Which is a quote from Paradise Lost, and I don't understand how you could have a more clear illusion than that. Yeah.
So this may be some people's books or not, but in the epigraph, this was a quote Mary Shelley put in the beginning, and it directly opens, obviously, but yes.
So the parallelism is pretty clear then.
Okay, so in the quote, Adam bemoans his fallen condition, and then in Frankenstein, we see the creature painfully aware of his evil disposition. The monster is shunned by Frankenstein, his creator, much in the same way that Adam is shunned by God, even though both creature and Adam try to please their creator. And then this quote is the monster talking about himself. It says, "Many times I considered Satan the fitter emblem of my condition." So he clearly empathizes and relates to Satan, the original fallen angel. And then both Satan and creature confuse justice with revenge. That goes back to them always wanting to please their creator. Eventually the monster thinks of Frankenstein as unfair, just as Adam thinks of God as unfair, and Satan thinks of God as unfair, as these tyrannical figures. And then so in their quest to seek justice against these tyrants, they end up causing a lot of mayhem and a lot more pain.
And the creature itself is really trying to hurt his creator, just like Satan was. So it's just like that direct, like going beyond, just going beyond like what it is to hurt. So it's going and hurting other people and not just the original source.
Okay, so next we have more Milton and the monster. It says, I will watch with the willingness of a snake." Again, that's a quote by the monster. Snake is a clear allusion to Satan, specifically in his, quote, lowest form. In Paradise Lost is the serpent, when he's basically seducing Eve with knowledge. The only person to ever show creature kindness is an allusion to Milton himself. His only friend in the book is an old, blind, poor man. Milton himself was poor and championed rights for the common people. And Milton was a firm believer that only the blind could ever truly see, which would explain why the blind man in the book was the only person to ever see that the creature's true intentions were pure of heart.
So for me, this is the Eve and Justine, the burden of false guilt. So everyone remembers in Paradise Lost, there was the snake who seduced Eve, and Eve did give into temptation and then obviously eat the apple. And Adam and God and a lot of the angels kind of blamed her for the fall of humanity when it really wasn't entirely her fault. But at the end, she eventually gave in. She was like, okay, it is my fault. This is very similar to Justine. As we know, Justine was framed for the murder of William, and you saw the picture in her pocket. And at first she tests to her innocence, and it was only Frankenstein and Elizabeth that believed her. They were like, she was like, no, it's not me, it's not me. Eventually, though, she did lie and say, yes, I did kill him. And her reason for that was because she didn't want to be damned. She didn't want to go to hell because of it. So she thought lying would kind of put her on a better, I guess, scale with God. And it kind of just shows how they're both like shows like how women in a way will kind of lie, I guess, or be more a little bit deceptive in order kind of to avoid the wrath of God. And it's just like a strong parallel just to how women are portrayed from Paradise Lost and Frankenstein.
And she also believed that she would maybe have less of a punishment on her if she didn't own up to this her, this false guilt that she had, and it's very similar to Eve, who she kind of didn't divorce Adam, but they went along with each other to do this, and they ended up with a much heavier punishment than they would have ever imagined. Alright, so the Adam twins, so it's Adam and Frankenstein, the Frankenstein and the creature, and their relationships. So the doom to destroy kind of trope. So it's how in the beginning, Frankenstein, he begins his search for like knowledge very innocently, and he just wanted to learn. And then as he became more and more obsessed, it kind of just took over him, and his like wish to like do something greater for men turns kind of just it was twisted. So similar to Adam, who he was very trustworthy to Eve, and he did start out very innocently, and that fall from grace in God's eyes is similar in that way, that he just went along with what he thought was best and got caught up in that. So he wanted to learn more, and they both end up being punished for that in their own ways, whether they feel guilty themselves or they are punished by an outside source. For the creature who is born with nothing and learns more and more, that way he is almost kind of like a son to Frankenstein. They're in a way very similar, but he understands that he was rejected by Frankenstein and thus becomes extremely vengeful. And they, in that way, as we said before, relates to Adam, and that he is rejected despite whatever he did. And in that way, that they are related to Frankenstein because of that. Alright, so for Shelley's purpose of these tools, she relates a lot of different like texts, not only Paradise Lost, but the allusion to the blind, the blind seer, and the just the different ways that she relates it to maybe like the Odyssey. So in this way, Frankenstein's own monster was reading Paradise Lost in the book, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a book within a book. This is so interesting because she directly parallels it to his own story. And the monster even identifies himself as Adam, which is signifying of Shelley's intent that she wanted these two stories to be related in this way, because even though it's in a more modern context than the Paradise Lost, it's still very relatable, and it can still be very relatable to today's context. She expresses the malicious relationship between, the creator and the created in this way, and that parallel is continued through with other relationships in the book.
That's the most important part of this presentation, is that the main parallel between Paradise Lost and Frankenstein is this, basically never-ending fight between the creation and the creator.
Yeah.
The creator views the creation as his subject, whereas the creation really struggles to find a sense of identity. And that quest for identity leads to violence and death in Frankenstein, and then the fall of all of humanity in Paradise Lost. So pretty disastrous consequences on both fronts.
Bibliography.
With URLs.
Any questions? No?
Yes, no.
So kidding.